Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to another episode of the Tradie Business School podcast. I'm joined once again by the beautiful Bryan Santos. Welcome back here again, Bryan. I hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm well. Good to see you again.
Excellent. We'll get straight into it today. Because today we're about raising your standards. We've had some interesting discussions offline about how to just be better people and better humans and better tradespeople and even better parents and, all of those different things. And I remember a mentor of mine back many years ago said to me and the people he was mentoring is the statement that stuck with me for a long time, and that is the standard that you walk past is the standard that you accept. And there are many, many good analogies here that we can use, and they'll come to me throughout the episode today. But I think this is, pertinent that, we talk about this, right? Because people often tradies are the best for this, right? Like, I don't know how to get more work, right? And it's like, just be better. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, just do the 1%ers, right? And it can be very simple as the amount of times, like I've been to sites and there's just shit lying around, where a tradie's dropped some stuff out of their tool belt, half a handful of rivets or screws or whatever it may be, and they literally will get off of the ladder, they'll walk past it and they're like, it's not worth my time to pick them up. I buy them for a couple of dollars a packet, and look, there's a whole buy-off or trade-off between your time versus value. But these are the things, right? Like the amount of times that I think I've built and not just built, but engaged people to do work for me. And they've showed up and they've been amazing, right? And I've become a raving fan, and I've generated hundreds of thousands and sometimes millions of dollars worth of work for them because they've done those 1%ers, picked up the rivets, picked up the leftover part from the rivet, picked up screws that they've dropped, swept up and vacuumed and walked me through the job afterwards, right? This is how I used to get a lot of my work, right? I'm a surveyor, I would show up, I would do the job, and then I'd grab the site manager or foreman and I'd walk them through the job and I'd explain everything to them, what I've done, why I've done it, and see if there was anything else that they needed. And quite often I'd do an extra 5 or 10 minute task just as a bit of good faith. Wasn't necessarily in my scope. And look, there's a whole thing about scope creep. We can talk about that in another episode too. Hopefully the team put that in our list as well. But I would always say to my guys, I would rather you spend an extra 5, 10, 15 minutes on site, making sure the client's happy and the job's done right, than us having to go back because there's a complaint, there's a thing that's not done, the client needs something else done. And look, yeah, there's an opportunity to potentially make more money on doing exactly what the scope says and never having to go back. But I always traded value, not time. I could invoice on time, sure, but I was always about building value. And I would have clients that would use me and my team exclusively purely because of the service they got. And the reason why is because of this mantra. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept, right? And my guys were always taught, set a high standard. And people that are listening to this stuff, I know that they're out there trying to become better at something, right? Whether it's business itself or just being a better person or a better tradesperson, these are the things that you can do. And often people will say to me, I don't have the time to do that because I'm quoting on the bare bones. That's a problem in itself, right? If you don't have the time to do the extra 1% built in, then we need to have a chat and fix your pricing for a start. I won't win work. No, you won't win work based on price because they know that your price is cheap and your work's shit, right? The idea is like, and this is the problem with the trades industry and many industries, right? I don't want to just rat on them, is that we have this big race to the bottom. Who can undercut who the fastest to get the work? And it's like, oh, I did this job for $80. Next time it's like someone's like, oh, well, I'll shave $5 off of that, 75. And then we get down to the point where somebody's doing for 69, somebody's doing for 68, somebody's doing for 67, because they know that the margin's not there anymore, but they're trying to just win it on price. So you've got to learn a whole different skill set when it comes to sales about building value. Once again, another podcast. Geez, episodes are dropping from the sky here, Bryan. But, one thing that you said before, Bryan, we were talking offline, which I'd love to hear your thoughts on, is turning your shoulds into musts. And I think hopefully I've set it up well enough there in and around.
Yeah.
I guess, I dropped the nail. I should pick that up.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is where you're going with it, but pick that up for a while and let your spotlight for a while.
Yeah, thank you. So a big part of, I guess, what we talk about amongst our team members as well as our clients is raising our standards, right? So, and turning shoulds, what we should be doing or what should be happening, to musts. No, we should, when we turn out some of the shoulds into musts, those are the things that can really, and this sounds dramatic, but those things can change our lives and it can change our businesses virtually in an instant, right? Because it doesn't require much else than a mindset shift or a decision to be made. I'm no longer going to put up with shitty customers, or I'm no longer going to put up with customers who X, Y, and Z that I hate. I must do. I'm only going to deal with. I'm going to raise my standards, because one of the things you said, and I'm going to paraphrase what you said, but what you tolerate is what you get. So tolerate shitty clients. If you tolerate average clients, or if you're finding yourself that you're getting quotes that are just not really what you want to do, and you're actually accepting or doing the quotes for that, that's what you're tolerating. So what you tolerate is what you get. So if we reverse it, if you're getting crappy jobs, or you're getting a number of jobs where the clients aren't ideal, there's another topic for later, ideal clients, right? But, that's a big one. If you can change the type of clients that you end up and jobs that you end up doing, and the type of jobs that you end up quoting for that are A, you like doing, B, that are more profitable, C, that you actually get the cash in sooner rather than later, and you're not kind of stuck with, being in a cash flow, negative situation, or being stuck that way. If that's an ideal situation for you, or you're not getting that, then it's usually down the track, or earlier in the process of what you've tolerated. Yes, because of you've tolerated that. If you're not getting profitable jobs, or if you're getting painful jobs, or clients that aren't paying on time, whatever, it's because you've allowed it to be.
Oh, what? Hang on. The shitty clients are my fault? I can just hear there's people's brains just cracking and melting right now, Bryan. There's there's brain matter melting out of people's ears right now.
Yeah. You've allowed it to be, right? If you have staff members that you're not happy with, or juniors or whatever, or you're attracting like apprentices, and you're saying, I can't find good people, or, kids these days, right? I admit, I say the kids these days that are, right?
I think there's a certain allowance, for being an old bloke and being able to do the quintessential. Back in my day, kids these days, I think that's allowed once you get to our age, or our experience, Bryan.
Yeah. And if we see it, but if we see it ongoing, right? If we see it I think
the intent is different too. Like, we'll often say it mucking around, but it's when people really get stuck in that mindset, and they're like, bloody kids these days, they do my head in, and apprentices these days, they just don't make them like they used to. And back in my day, it's when they're seriously buying into that story, like it's super disempowering, and it's like, man, like, just get that shit out of your head. But go on, I digress.
Yeah, and another one is that we often hear, and for some of you listeners, it's probably, this could be the case, is maybe you're working so hard that, on the tools during the day, and then you get home, have a meal, what you can, time with your family, and then you're back onto the computer doing invoices, quotes, et cetera, right? So your days have got, and you're burning the candle at both ends, right? Again, part of, or the key reason for that is because you've allowed it to be. You tolerated. You said, I've got to do that because I'm the owner. If I don't do this, no one else will, right? So you're tolerating that lifestyle. It sounds harsh, but you're the one who's responsible for your life, right? Let's just acknowledge that.
Yeah, you're accepting that, and
you're accepting that.
Accepting that. The trap that people fall into is that disempowered thinking that they think they've got no choice.
Yes.
You know, you always have a choice. Sometimes your choices are really shitty. Sometimes it's about changing the way you're doing business and asking for help and being vulnerable. And for some people, that's really horrible. And sometimes it's about quitting the job or the business and going back and working for somebody and just being an amazing employee. And for some people, that's a horror movie in itself, right? Sometimes the choices are really shit. You know, sometimes the choice is, I don't care about my reputation. I'm going to be a shitty tradesperson, rather than taking the position that you're talking about, Bryan, is that I should, I must become a better tradesperson. I must provide a better service, right? Because those are the things that are going to, and this is the thing, right? Like, everybody gets hung up on the client's always right and doing things for other people. This has got nothing to do with anybody else but you. Can you go home and look at yourself in the mirror and be proud of how you showed up that day? Can you be proud of the work that you've done? Can you be proud of the service that you provided your client or the site, or, you know, people that never going to see, you know, cleaners go in and they clean offices and toilet blocks and sites, whatever it may be, when no one's there, because it's the easiest to do, right? So it's easy to just cut corners and go, oh, I probably should clean behind that thing and lift that thing up and do that, you know, but they don't, because it's like, fucking nobody knows me. Nobody's going to care, right? But it's not about other people. This is about you and being able to go, I did a sweet job. I'm really proud at the level that I went to. And did it cost me an extra 5 minutes? Sure. I could have, should have, and would have. Could have, should have, and would have, right? They're the three musketeers of lameness, right? You know, I could have, should have, what? Like, well, why didn't you? You know, but you didn't. Okay, cool. Compassion, I talk about it all the time. You didn't do those things. Do you want to keep doing those things? Or do you want to make a change? How do you turn? And the only way to do it is what you're suggesting, Bryan, is turn them into musts. I must put in a better effort, and I must. And if it's going to take me an extra half an hour to do an amazing job, then I must wear that. We can talk about a whole heap of other discussions around that. How do you change your pricing, and I must learn better pricing so that I can. I must so that I can is so much more of an empowering statement.
Absolutely.
Than, you know, this feeds into a whole other podcast, unless until versus I must so I can, right? And, you know, unless somebody pays me an extra $5 to do that thing, I'm not going to do it. Or until somebody tells me to do that thing, I'm not going to do it, right? Unless until. Versus I must so I can. I must do that thing before somebody asks me so that I can sleep at night knowing that I'm not going to get sacked tomorrow. Or I must provide a high quality service so I don't go out of business, so that I can sleep at night knowing that people are out there referring me work. People are out there becoming fans. Like, I always wanted to create a brand and a culture in and around my workplaces where people raved. They became fans of my work. Like, for the last half a dozen years of business, like, I haven't chased any work. It's just come in the door to me because I created those raving fans in the early days. You know, so I've been able to just coast along, build an automated business that I've got very little to do with, because I built those raving fans early on. I created that culture, and then my team know that they're not going to get screamed at for costing the business an extra half an hour. Because I look at those, and this is the thing with reframing mindset, right? Is I look at those minutes and hours extra on site as investments, not costs.
Yeah, perfect. And I guess for those who are listening today, and and hopefully those those people who are listening today, or
raise your standards, stop being shit.
Turn up and listen to your podcast, to this podcast.
Yes.
What I'd recommend is
I must listen to Adam and Bryan so that I can be better.
Until Bryan and Adam do their podcast, I'm not going to, no.
I'm not going to do any more.
Until Bryan and Adam tell me something really profound, then I'm not going to do any. No. One of the things that
it can really be used against us, can't it?
Oh, yeah, it would. One of the things that I'd recommend to those of you who are listening is there are things that you're tired of that are getting to you, and they're shoulds, right? And whether it's like, I really should get someone to do my books, or I really should sort out my invoicing so that I don't have to kind of stay up at night. I should do my quoting earlier, right? They're all shoulds, and they should be done. The key first step is figuring out which are the ones you want to make shoulds into musts. Which are the ones you're freaking tired of, you're sick of. Get that level of, okay, I'm over it. I'm going to turn this, like burning the candles at both ends, where I don't even spend some time with. Don't wait for them to be musts. What I mean by that is, let's say you're working a long hours and it's affecting your relationships. Mind you, this is a common thing that clients come to us to help them with, right? So I'm working my backside off, and I know my relationship is being affected. I know I'm grumpy and I don't mean it, but it's affecting. And Bryan, it's got to the stage that if I don't do anything now, we're going to divorce, right? Or something along those lines, right? So
I should probably do something about that.
Yeah, right? I should probably... No. And then but sometimes people leave it to the stage where it's desperate, where it becomes a must. The situation turns itself into being a must. But this is the thing. You can control what a should be and turn it into a must. So you can make that decision sooner rather than later. I don't want to get to a stage where it becomes an ultimatum between my business and my family. So you can say, I must do something about it. I must do something about my business. I must do something about the time that I'm spending in my business. I must do something about my cash flow, or whatever it is. So that's the first step.
I must get help from Adam and Bryan.
Well, that was going to be one of my suggestions.
I must email them at hello@tradiebusinessschool.com.
Yeah. But the thing that stops people from making that decision, I must change, is that often I hear is, but I don't know how. If I decide I've got to change it, that means that I have to figure out, or I don't know where to go. So when you get to that stage of turning shoulds to musts, and then your musts are like, okay, but what do I do? Yes, you can start to work it out yourselves, but the alternative is you can get help from people who can actually help you. One of those places, funnily enough, is us, right? But in all seriousness,
plugs. I love it.
Shameless plug, but it's the honest truth, right? Is if you get to a situation, don't think that you have to figure it out yourself, or don't think that you have to do it yourself. Get help.
Yeah. And I think that is a beautiful place to wrap it up. If you think you should get help, that's probably one of the things you need to turn into, I must get help sooner rather than later. I should get help one day, turn it into I must get help sooner rather than later. I must get help today, and email us at hello@tradiebusinessschool.com. One of the other musts that you should do, or I'm mixing the words up now. One of the other musts that you need to do is you must like, share, subscribe, hit your notification icon, and drop a comment below. Send us an email. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. Tell us the things that you must change right now, and let us hold you accountable. We'll check in with you and see how you're going with those things. I would love to help people create some accountability. And if you're not sure, I was just thinking, Bryan, we've got our task audit that I'd be happy to offer the listeners out there about all the things that you are doing. And you can create a list with a task audit, what you do in a day, and that will give you a really good place to start. And what you'll start with, I should move this off, and I should move that off, and I should hand that off, and I should delegate that, and I shouldn't be doing this anymore. Also, you can turn that into I mustn't do this anymore because it's a waste of time, money, effort, energy, whatever it may be. So this is all about empowering people to make better decisions, to create better lives. So I hope this has been helpful. Bryan, amazing insights once again. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.